So, your podcast hosting platform. This is where the magic happens. Your podcast hosting platform is what connects your audio file to podcast networks. Now, just like with recording and editing, there are many options to choose from. It is important for you to explore at least three to get a better idea of what's being offered. Your platform is going to provide you with your RSS feed, which essentially is your podcast ID. I was a little confused about that in the beginning, so I wanted to make sure I noted that. Your RSS feed is essentially the connector to your podcast. It's your podcast ID. Most of the platforms that you're going to try to feature your podcast on are going to ask for that information, but it's going to be provided to you through your platform. So don't stress about that. Your platform, your hosting platform is going to connect your podcast to all the major platforms. So if you're wondering, how am I recording and then putting this out there, like how is it connecting to everywhere? Whatever platform, hosting platform you're going to use, there should be an element there that allows you to select what podcast platforms you want to be featured on. There are actually more than just iTunes and Spotify. There are quite a bit out there, and you're going to want to host your podcast on as many platforms as you can gain access to, because why not? Let's get your message out there. Your platform potentially will also provide you with a website for your podcast, as well as a share page for your podcast. These two pages look pretty similar. One of them, the website page, is literally just going to be your podcast on a particular page, not really creative. It's just like a home spot. And then the share page for your podcast is going to feature all the platforms that you're featured on. So Steel Rose's podcast is featured on, I think, about 15 or so platforms. I did it all through my hosting platform. They made it super easy. Few things you want to have prepared when you begin that leg of the process. Your podcast name, a description of your podcast, the name of the host, your creative tile will be important. The contact email for wherever podcast information is supposed to be going, and your podcast category. Your creative tile, we did go through a creative module, but I do want to reinforce here, your creative tile really needs to be at a glance. So make sure that whatever creative you generate to feature your podcast, that it's something that you can easily look at and understand like what the key takeaway is. Because think about, on a phone, somebody scanning through, they're going to want to look at it pretty quickly and catch their attention. Your contact email, I do encourage you to set up a separate email for your podcast information. There will be information that comes over to you from the different platforms. Metrics will come over to you. I'm a good metrics. I love metrics. You want that information to just be nicely and neatly put somewhere. So I do encourage you to just create a whole separate email for podcast information. Your podcast category, there's going to be a drop down. So don't worry about trying to figure that out now. When you go in there and you start entering your information, it's going to provide you with a drop down. One thing I do want to note here that kind of caught me by surprise: Spotify, super simple to get your podcast on there. Apple, not so much. So they do ask you for your Apple ID. I tried to create one for Still Roses. It just was not easy. It wasn't working out for me. I ended up having to use my personal Apple ID to get the whole thing set up, which was fine. And then they asked you for personal identification information. So like if you have an EIN number, if you're running things through your social, it seems strange. I know, I agree, to provide all that information. If you're not comfortable, you don't always have to, have your podcast posted on Apple. Like that was the only platform that asked me for such detailed information. Every other platform, I was able to just host my podcast. So totally your call, putting it out there. They do ask for a lot more info if you decide to go host through them. Your hosting platform is going to be kind of like your home base. So I quite often in there will schedule episodes in advance. Right now, I think I have episodes scheduled for the next 2 months, because it does help to have all of that ready there, and then you just have to worry about promotion for each episode. So that's really going to be your baseline there. So I really do encourage you. You will see, if you start Googling like, top podcast platforms, you'll see the same players come up over and over again. And the top spot and the top three are going to shift depending on who you're talking to. Everybody goes a different path. I have people that I work with in my 9 to 5 that use a whole separate platform. I don't love that platform. I actually happen to use Buzzsprout, just FYI. I find them wonderful. They have a great amount of information. They have a great amount of AI support that generates a bunch of content for me, which is really amazing. But you can try out other platforms. You really want to find something that's going to work best for you. You're going to hear me say it on every single video, and I don't care if it sounds repetitive and it's crazy. But the key message here is there is no one right way to do this. You can make this whatever you want to make it. So you'll find the best platform that will work for you in this instance. And it's going to be super intuitive and it'll be really great. But your hosting platform is essentially what is going to spread your episode everywhere else. So it'll be super important to pick one that you can easily navigate and that you don't find is too cumbersome.